Thanks for staying tuned. The House of Representatives says the practice where international oil and exploration companies fail to remit required fees and duties to the consolidated revenue account must be stopped. That's a major point emphasized by the Deputy Minority Leader of the House during the investigative hearing into revenue leakages and the activities of the Department of Petroleum Resources. But representatives of some of the international oil companies defended themselves, saying they're not owing the government. Our correspondent, Larry Lassisi, has that report.
It's an investigative hearing into allegations of revenue leakages in the oil and gas sector. An ad hoc committee set up by the House of Representatives has invited representatives of some government agencies and oil companies in its bid to get to the bottom of the matter. The chairman of the committee speaks on the mandate of the committee.
A series of interactive sessions were held with the international oil companies and exploration companies, DPR, CBN, and FIRS, where many discrepancies were observed in relation to their submissions and remittances to the Consolidated Revenue Fund accounts. Investigations into these discrepancies and indebtedness of the oil companies to the Federal Republic of Nigeria is ongoing.
Declaring the hearing open, the Deputy Minority Leader is emphatic on the need to address the issue.
The committee, in preparation for this public hearing, I was reliably briefed that it was sadly observed that most international oil companies and exploration companies fail to remit their required dues fees into the consolidated revenue account over the years, thereby depriving the country of revenue for its economic development activities. This attitude must have contributed to the economic recession in Nigeria and is not going to be acceptable. This must stop. It should be made categorically clear that defaulting companies will be sanctioned. They will have to remit completely what they owe the federal government with immediate effect or face appropriate sanctions.
Those invited are allowed to put forward their case.
We did provide clarification yesterday and prior that the operation really is exempt from reality in accordance with the law. The Pt.3 section 11, I believe, subsection 2G.
The figures are circulated to the committee. Our indebtedness as at now is in dollars about 1.7 billion.
Million or billion?
Billion.
Billion what?
Dollars.
I want you to say it loud.
The chairman of the committee says things must be done differently in the sector.
You are operating, you are benefiting, and the country is suffering. You cannot, we are the receiving end. We cannot say we'll sit down and then there's no time frame for all of this. It's been going on. It's like it's a perennial problem.
The committee has directed that the managing directors of all the companies appear before them in their next meeting. Larry Lassisi, Channels Television News.
The representative of the
Some experts in statistics have been talking about the federal government's economic growth and recovery plan, and they say the policy can only be achieved with the aid of timely and accurate statistics. They also believe that proper funding is needed to capture areas of progress and concerns needed for policy action. The experts made the call at an event in Abuja to mark the World Statistics Day.
The use of statistics for planning and policy action remains key to the development of any nation that yearns for improved services for its people. From the manufacturing sector to the transport sector, the deployment of statistics aid government in planning and also to know the priority areas begging for attention. At this event, Nigeria joined the rest of the world to mark the African Statistics Day.
The current economic reform and growth plan being implemented presents a golden opportunity for government to ramp up our investment in the production of statistics, not just in economic statistics, but in statistics that cut across all facets of societal life.
There were words of support from the international community on why statistical agencies must be supported in discharging their duties effectively.
Our main concern is really about the well-being of Nigerians and how statistics can be a key driver in informing policy so that at least we move higher up in terms of human development and the attainment of the SDGs.
Out of the mix, we can calculate, and I understand UNICEF is working with the Ministry of Budget National Planning, we can calculate poverty. Okay, with poverty is a multidimensional poverty of the children, and this is what is important for us because it will allow us to better program and provide services for these children.
The theme for the 2017 African Statistics Day focuses on better lives through the provision of economic statistics.
And now time for the business news of the day. Here is Anne Nwanwodu.
Thank you, Ladi. Nigeria's central bank chief, Godwin Emefiele, says that he is not treating commercial lenders lightly, according to speculations. The CBN governor was speaking in his first exclusive interview with Channels Television today in Lagos.
I don't think I am soft on the banks. And if you ask the banks today, and the basic practice you find all over the world is that banks pay heavy fines. You've heard about banks, I don't want to mention their names. When there's an infraction, they get to pay billions of dollars. In Nigeria, we've seen banks pay as high as 4 billion naira in fine. It has never happened in the history of the country, right? So different regimes may come with different approaches. And I can tell you that is not about, we are not about killing a bank, because you must realize that the banks are not owned by just those shareholders. We've come to a regime where we need to begin to say that banks are owned by depositors, not by shareholders. So when you kill a bank, you think you are killing individuals who brought in capital to run those things. You are telling a lie.
CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. The central bank will offer bills worth 117.18 billion naira. That will happen next week at the Treasury Bills market. This comprises 26.14 billion naira, 11.01 billion naira and 80.03 billion naira for the 91-day, the 182-day and the 364-day bills. Meanwhile, bullish sentiments persisted this week with average yields declining by 33 basis points to 16.23%, partly supported by improvement in system liquidity from maturing OMO bills on Thursday. Dealers are expecting demand to persist in the secondary market next week on the back of expected inflow. Let's move to the equities market. The index reversed the loss recorded last week as the all-share index appreciated by 0.66% to close the week at 37,365.91. All sectoral indices except for oil and gas closed positive. The gains recorded during the week were driven by bargain hunting in Dangote Sugar, Unilever, Dangote Cement, Nestle and Zenith Bank. Dealers and analysts believe that market fundamentals remain very strong. And from there, let's move to the bond market to see how it fared during the week. Investors were broadly bullish as average yields also contracted by 22 basis points to 14.63% from 14.84%. Yields contracted across all ends of the curve. At Wednesday's bond auction, the DMO allotted 14.6 billion naira and 3773.17 billion naira in the July 2021 and March 2027 bonds at respective stop rates of 14.7% and 14.8%. Dealers are saying that yields in the bond markets are likely to contract in the coming week on expected improvement in system liquidity. Away from the markets now, S&P Global Ratings has downgraded South Africa's local currency debt to junk territory, citing a further worsening in the country's economic outlook and public finances. The downgrade on Friday by S&P comes after Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba announced weaker growth expectation, wider budget deficit, and even a rising government debt. However, Moody's ratings agency has maintained its sovereign ratings for Africa's second biggest economy at Baa3, one step above junk status, which may have prevented a larger sell-off in the rand. But on Thursday, Fitch Ratings kept both the country's local and foreign currency credit ratings unchanged at BB+, with a stable outlook. And that's business news for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Ladi.
Thanks very much, Anne. The federal government is hoping to save 3 trillion naira over the next 5 years from the development of raw materials in the country. And the Minister of Science and Technology, Ogbonnaya Onu, is confident the feat would be achieved. The minister explains that the strategy is aimed at building local capacity to enable Nigeria contest with the rest of the world in the area of raw materials development. He was speaking when he received the report on the national strategy for competitiveness in raw materials and products development in Abuja.
This national strategy is aimed at identifying the raw materials and products which we now import into the country, which we should not import in the future, that we should be able to develop locally. We should be able to build the local capacity and then maintain very high standards that will enable Nigeria to compete with the very best in the world. And by doing this, we'll be in a position to save a lot of money for the country. It's estimated that we will be able to save over 3 trillion naira. 3 trillion naira in the next 5 years, just through this strategy for promoting competitiveness in raw materials and products development. God has so blessed us that many of the raw materials that other nations need to develop, which they don't have, we have. And it is for us using this agency to now develop these raw materials in a manner that will be able to create jobs for our people, we'll be able to create wealth, and hence increase the gross domestic product of our country, our GDP, but above all, to fight and reduce poverty in Nigeria.
Members of the Benue State Caucus in the House of Representatives want President Muhammadu Buhari and the federal government to fully support the implementation of the open grazing prohibition and establishment of ranches law recently passed in Benue State. The lawmakers are concerned that some groups appear to be set to oppose the full implementation of the bill. They say the people in the state have had to contend with a lot of attacks, which has led to the loss of lives and property.
Enacting this law alone does not solve the problem. If federal government does not support the implementation of this law, if the people of Benue State and Nigerians at large do not support the implementation of this law, we are still going to have a problem. That is why we are having this press conference this morning. We are appealing to federal government in particular, the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to please urgently support the implementation of this law by improving the security in Benue State, introduce more units of mobile policemen and even military formations around the flashpoints. Otherwise, enacting the law alone will not solve this problem if the federal government does not support the implementation of this bill. Up till today, we are still struggling to survive, to recover from the effect of the last attack that was wreaked on our people. The federal government did not even come to rehabilitate the people. There is no form of rehabilitation took place. The people are just struggling to rebuild their houses. Now, the law has been enacted to stop this carnage. Federal government should, as quickly as possible, come to our aid. They should show that political will to solve this problem permanently. Otherwise, enacting this law alone will not solve this problem.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Barcelona's Lionel Messi ends months of speculation surrounding his future with a new £500,000 a week deal at the Camp Nou. Stay with us.